O my Lord, here I am, a beggar before you, reaching for your door, in complete poverty. All I have is my shame and humility, possessing nothing to hold, nor to mention even a begging bowl. A beggar slain from within, my desires and yearnings corrupted because of his sins. I have wasted away the treasures of deen because of the self of mine. I have cast it aside, sukoon of the heart at the altar of pleasures entwined.
Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin al-Nabiyil Ummihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallim taslima. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin abdika wa rasulika al-Nabiyil Ummi wa ala alihi wa sallim taslima. By the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are trying to understand the path, the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa azza wa jal. And we are also taking some lessons and guidance from the story and the mu'jiza, miracle of Miraj and ascension. And as we mentioned before, that before a person embarks upon this path, they need a buraq, and the buraq for them is aqidah, fiqh, repentance and mujahida, which we mentioned in some detail. And they also need to stay awake. If they sleep, they will sleep in the journey. And to stay awake, they need constantly to make themselves aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatness, the stories of the prophets, the matters of hell and paradise, the incidents, the things which we are going to come across on the day of judgment, and reality of this dunya, the life in the grave, the punishment in the grave, the reward in the grave, the reward in Jannah. So if you keep refreshing and taking dose of these things regularly, you will stay awake. Otherwise, you are going to go sleep again after starting even the journey. And we mentioned that Prophet ﷺ, from the Kaaba Sharif, from the house of Allah, he went to the Masjid Aqsa. Firstly, the buraq, as I said, for us, the buraq represents the, so these are these different parts of the buraq for us. For example, you may say aqidah, fiqh, tawbah, mujahida, dhikr, love of Allah, and a teacher, etc. But buraq as a whole, it represents the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For us, the buraq is sunnah. We are not going to sit on this buraq. Or, well, in Jannah, in Jannah, there will be many, many things and many, many ways to fly. You can have your own wings as well there. And you can fly and on your chairs and things where you will be sitting. Rather, many of the Jannahs itself, the cities will be flying. The cities, whole cities of Jannah will be flying in the air. But the Sunnah is the most closest way and the only way to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you sit on donkeys, not the buraq of Sunnah, donkeys and monkeys, which are the sins, which are the ways of other people, apart from the Sunnah. So the buraq represents Sunnah. Other animals, they represent others' ways of life of other people, non-Muslims, fusaq, your friends, and the cultures and all these things which they mix things. they are not able to fly. They'll be on ground and they'll throw you on ground somewhere as well. So you only have one thing to sit and fly with, is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then we mentioned that you should, like Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went from Masjid Haram to Masjid Al-Aqsa. This represents that if you want to make this journey, you want to be a traveler of the path, you need to abandon bad company and go towards the good company. Because in Makkah al-Mukarramah there were mushrikeen living, there were statues and idols there. So Jibreel alayhi salam took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to meet Anbiya and prophets in Masjid al-Aqsa, from Masjid al-Haram. Masjid al-Aqsa, Anbiya alayhi salam gathered. So this means that you need to be in good company. After you've started the path, if you still have same friends, you won't be able to travel. Same evil friends, same bad company, same partying, same marriages you go through, you will be pulled back. You have to actually leave that, like the example, and go to the followers of the Anbiya, meaning the pious and righteous, and mingle with them. And in their company, you will be able to, inshallah, rise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's closeness. And we said, the rise from the state of sinfulness and heedlessness, the earth of heedlessness, Brother Mujtaba, the people who look on the through the internet, they were saying that they can see better the image if you focus on the laptop. So if you're focusing on me, then it's me. But if it's possible, then inshallah they can see it much clearer. But it's okay. But if it disturbs you too much, then just leave it. So the Buraq represents with its four legs Aqidah, Fiqh, Tawbah, Mujahidah, which we went through yesterday. And the earth represents sinful and heedless life, deception. And our going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after Aqidah, after Fiqh, after, for example, you are performing the 5 pillars of Islam, the 5 prayers, zakat you are giving. That's the first thing which you need to do. Hajj, getting Hajj in order, and other like fasting. These are the first things which comes into the fiqh part. So basic, you start with that. And then you start to purify yourself. And for us, the 7 skies represent the 7 organs of the body. For Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was 7 skies. For us is the 7 organs. If we purify them, the more closer you are to Allah Azza wa Jal, the more purified you are. And we went also through the tongue and the sins of the tongue, some of them. And also mentioned the 4 exceptions where a person is allowed to tell a lie. For example, reconciling people. We mentioned those 4 reasons, which is in the book, which you have read yesterday on page 318. And also 9 reasons where there's exceptions to do backbiting and ghibah. And then 20 sins of the tongue we covered. So today we'll just go towards eyes. So if you come to the page 319, and if any brother like yesterday can come and sit here, if we need someone to read, they can read. Page 319. On the top, the song or the poem which the Shaykh Abdul Wahid ibn Ashir wrote in Arabic. In the last part of the file, there is Arabic poem with Arabic words. In the last pages, there is Arabic poem. So page 319, the song or the poem says, lower your gaze, meaning lower your gaze, protect your eyes. And how you do that is, Brother Usman will read the note 2622. Lower your gaze.
Lower your gaze from viewing sensual images of the opposite gender, cars, houses, yachts, jewelry, clothes, shoes, athletic equipment, food, other material possessions, etc., in real life or depicted in a lifelike photograph.
Okay. Now, this lowering your gaze, protecting your eyes from sinfulness, these things which are mentioned here, they are not, many of them are not haram to see. But if a person is traveling the path to Allah, he is trying to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he should not actually look at them. And we find an example in the Miraj of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they were going from Makkatul Mukarrama to Baitul Muqaddas, Masjid Aqsa. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was mounting the Buraq. So aap in Fath al-Bari and in another books, Al-Khasais al-Qubra of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's status, it's mentioned that properly आप बुराक पर सवार होकर जा रहे थे कि रास्ते में एक बुढ़िया पर गुजर हुआ. So Rasulullah saw an old woman whilst in with Jibreel alayhi salam in the night of Miraj. उसने आपको आवाज दी. The old woman called Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. हज़रत जिब्रील ने फरमाया कि आगे चलिए, इसकी तरफ ना देखिए, ना तवज्जो फरमाइए. Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam said, Ya Rasulullah, don't look at her, don't pay attention, just carry on with your journey. So, आगे चलकर in further way, then एक बूढ़ा नजर आया in the journey from Baitul Muqaddas to Baitullah to Baitul Muqaddas, Masjid al-Haram to Masjid Aqsa. Then they saw an old man. उसने भी यहाँ हजरत को वाद, he also called Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. An old man called in the night of Miraj Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. हजरत जिब्रील अलैहि सलाम ने फरमाया आगे चलिए, इसकी तरफ तवज्जो ना करिए. So Jibreel alayhi salam said, don't pay attention to this old man, just we carry on our journey. And after that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a group, assembly of people, some pious righteous, very luminous people, and they said, Assalamu alayka ya awwal, Assalamu alayka ya akhir, Assalamu alayka ya hashir. They said, Salam and peace upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jibreel alayhi salam said, answer these people. आप सलाम का जवाब दें इनको. फिर after that, Jibreel alayhi salam said that old woman, वो बूढ़ी औरत जो थी रास्ते के किनारे पर खड़ी थी, वो दुनिया थी. That was dunya. That was dunya. And like her, you saw dunya, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in old age. That is how much life of dunya is left behind. फरमाया कि जो बूढ़ी औरत देखी थी वो दुनिया थी, वो जितना वो उम्र उसकी बूढ़ी हो गई है, इसी तरह दुनिया की उम्र भी अब बूढ़ी है, कम रह गई है. The world is to come to an end. These scientists and others, they believe as well that it's going to come to an end. Because they say the earth is contracting. Zameen choti ho rahi hai. And the earth is filled with fire. जो ज़मीन है, our earth is filled with fire, and the earth part is only like when you see an apple and the peel of the apple. So apple has two things in it, the white part which we eat, and then there's like a red or green covering. वो जो उसका छिलका होता है एप्पल का, तो देखें ना वो एप्पल में, इफ आई हैव एन एप्पल हियर, हाउ थिन विल बी द टॉप, द पील, द कवरिंग ऑफ द एप्पल, वो कितना पतला है छिलका, और वो सफेद पार्ट, सारा सफेद पार्ट से भरा हुआ है. द साइंटिस्ट से दिस अर्थ इज लाइक दिस एन एप्पल. द अर्थ पार्ट, the solid part is like the peel of the apple, very thin, and the rest of it is filled with fire, all of it. So me and you are sitting on the bowl of fire, really. ये जो ज़मीन and the crust of the earth, the which you are and we see, the mud and the clay and the stone and the mountains, वो बिल्कुल ऐसे हैं जैसे एप्पल का छिलका है. The covering of the apple, the peel of the apple, इतना पतला है. So imagine this should create fear in you. You are sitting on a fire bowl anyway, like a hell you are sitting on. इसलिए जब लावा फटता है तो देखिए वो सब कुछ खत्म हो जाता है. So the scientists say the earth is contracting, वो छोटी हो रही है और अंदर से आग जो है वो बढ़ रही है. They say the time is going to come, this is the inside, like a bomb is going to explode. Now this is not what the Quran and Sunnah, for example, I'm saying this is what the scientists say. But the Quran says that the earth is going to explode, is going to be destroyed. But this has become a scientific fact as well, that continuously it's contracting and the pressure is building and building inside like a प्रेशर कुकर. वो यानी आग जो है वो जल रही है, बहुत आग ही आग है. एंड उसको to it tear through the earth, the top part of the earth is nothing for that fire because it's so weak, the outer part. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, the Jibreel Islam said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like you've seen this old woman, and when you see old woman, you know that she is near her natural life cycle, near death. She has lived a great amount, a large portion of her life. So you know not much time is left for her. 20 years, 30 years are left. If she's 70, 80, then you know only 20 years, 30 years are left for a normal life cycle. So that's how this world is. This world, Prophet ﷺ is the last prophet. We are the last ummah, and this world is coming to an end. Slowly, slowly. But our end is going to come with death. हमारा तो खत्म हो जाएगा. At the time of death is our nation. So this means that in the journey, what did Jibreel alayhi salam say to Rasulullah sallallahu? Don't pay attention to, don't look at it. ये अब आंखों की बात हो रही है. So we would say like the teacher, a teacher of Shaykh says, don't look at unlawful scenes. He prohibits you. And if you look at dunya, because he's like this person, the note you have read, he said, lower your gaze from viewing images of dunya. That's what sensual images mean. Of opposite gender, cars, houses, yachts, jewelry, clothes, shoes, athletic equipment, food, other material possession, in real life or depicted in a life like photograph or TV. So it is saying that don't too much excessively ponder and focus on dunya. If you do that, the love of dunya is going to take place in your heart. So out of necessity, you look, especially for people who are traveling the path to Allah, जो तरीक पर चल रहे हैं, they should avoid even makruhat. So all these things are not unlawful to look at, but there's some things haram to look at, unlawful, but some even lawful things like the symbols of love of dunya, don't actually delve into them too much because you will forget akhirah. Because to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Jibreel Islam said, don't pay attention at all. This is dunya, meaning after he said. So dunya ki taraf tawajjuh na karo zyada for the sake of dunya. Now if someone says, I am working, I have a career, No harm in there. You work, you marry for akhirah, then that becomes akhirah as well. If you do any act of dunya, any worldly act for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for gaining reward in akhirah, that becomes akhirah and rewardable as well. So if you work, that can become akhirah, it's no more dunya. If you are marrying, living together because you can safeguard your senses and fulfill the rights of the wife or the husband, you are doing an act of akhirah. So just working for dunya for the sake of dunya and showing off to other people and just increasing wealth and fame, for this reason is dunya. So there's always differentiation, that if you do anything for akhirah, you're working to gain a halal rizq, to provide your children, and etc., etc. You're marrying, you are getting together with people, you're looking at things to do business so that you can actually fulfill the rights of the poor and yourself. All that becomes akhirah. But like some of people now with materialistic, you may say, mind is that they, for the sake of dunya, for the pleasure of dunya, not for akhirah, don't ponder over dunya. So this refers to that in the journey, that this you guard your eyes. And the second lesson in here is that in this spiritual journey, sometimes you see visions, and visions you see many things. ख्वाबें आ सकती हैं, कश्फ हो सकता है, और कश्फ में ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो नज़र आ रहा है वो नेक है. इससे पता चल रहा है कि नबी अलैहिस्सलाम की मेराज में भी देखें, वो पहले जो औरत नजर आई वो दुनिया थी, वो अच्छी चीज तो नहीं थी. So this means, like Jibreel Islam is giving an example, Ya Rasulullah sallam, don't pay attention. So similarly, if any person have a vision or a dream or a kashf and they see they are flying in the air and actually they are meeting such and such people, they should refer back to the Shaykh, the teacher, like Jibreel Islam is instructing. वो बताता आपको ये कि ये ठीक नहीं है. Otherwise, you will think you are going very high, and it might be jinnat and shayateen you are actually just looking at. Because in ancient times, people, in Quran it comes that on the day of judgment, people will think, in the mushrikeen time, they liked angels, and they used to worship idols, or they used to see visions and angels coming in the visions, as though that they're angels, posing as angels. That I am seeing Jibreel, I am seeing Mikael, I am seeing that. And the angel used to say, do this, it's okay, do this. And these mushrikeen did these acts. And in the Quran it comes that on the day of judgment, these angels are going to say, oh Allah, they were not worshipping or obeying us. Ya'budun al-jinn. They were actually worshipping shayateen and following jinnat. Jinnat were posing as angels to them. I am Munkar and Nakir, I am Jibreel, and I am this and I am that, and the mushrikeen. This is Quran. Kanu ya'budun al-jinn. Angels will say that they've not been worshipping us. They've been worshipping shayateen, jinnat. So, in matters of visions and dreams, so nowadays angels, okay, that's fine, angels are angels, but now things are happening, many people see visions, and they see pious people in it, even posing as Anbiya alayhimus salam, even posing as angels, even posing as great awliya like Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani or anything. And they are jinnat and shayateen who've taken the form. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that his original form, no shaitan, no jinn can take. But people who see and say, we see Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they don't know what is the original form of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How can they differentiate? So any person come and say, I am Muhammadur Rasulullah, they'll be happy, I've seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whilst they are not really sure. Because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that shaitan cannot take my form. Which form? His original form. And he was saying this to the Sahaba Rizwanul Alim Ajma'i. So That's why Imam Ibn Sirin, rahmatullah alayhi, a great scholar of hadith and ta'bir, he used to, when people came and said, we saw in the vision, in the dream, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would say, describe him, describe his features. And if they'll describe him and his features matched what's in the books, and what the Sahaba said, he said, it's a blessing for you. He mentioned the interpretation, that this is the interpretation. It's a blessed dream for you. And if the person described, I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was looking like this, and if his features did not match what's in the books, what the Sahaba narrated, he would say, you've seen someone else. You have seen someone else. So many people are misguided. They think they have seen angels, and the angels are taking them out of Sharia. They are doing things, they're not praying, they are meeting women, or actually just wandering around and doing all sorts of things, not on Sunnah, nor they know the knowledge of Sharia, the necessary knowledge of Aqidah, nor they're following the Sunnah. They're just the spiritual people who, for example, say that we are now free from prayers and things, or some halal and haram, they mix and things. And all is happening is shayateens are playing with them, and jinnat are playing with them, posing as angel. Jinnat are playing with them, posing as awliya, and jinnat are, shayateen are playing with them, posing as anbiya. And even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's form, they can never come in, but they come in other forms and say, I am Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So anything a person sees in dream or vision, firstly, if they have a teacher, they should have a teacher, they should refer back to him, only then they will be guided. If they don't have teacher, then the rule of thumb is that judge your dream, present your dream on Quran and Sunnah and the fiqh and aqidah which of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. If it anything contradicts, throw it in the bin, forget. And if it complies with Quran and Sunnah and the awliya and mashayikh, it is just a explanation or a more details of deen and hikmats and wisdoms of deen, then actually you accept and take a message and take an encouragement and be more steadfast. Be more steadfast on deen. So देखना in the Miraj there is a lesson for the visionary people as well. Miraj में इसके भी सबक है कि कैसे बचना है, कि ख्वाबों से, कश्फ से, कि में गुमराही से कैसे बचना है. How to save yourself in this dream. And I mentioned to you, jinnat, they pose as angel, they pose as awliya, they pose as anbiya, they pose as sahaba and shayateen, and they actually have made many people astray like this. Once Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah alayhi got up and he saw his wife was praying to Allah with her hands, and there was a bowl of light. There's a bowl of light, very beautiful light emanating from it, peace and very tranquil environment. The bowl of light, wonderful like a lamp from the unseen world, and his wife was there doing dua, and like our people say, I am really feeling pleasure, and when they see the light, they feel more pleasure. भाई ये नूर आ रहा है, मेरी दुआ कबूल हो रही है. Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmahullah, he was just passing by in that room, and he, with his hand, he touched, and the light actually went off. And again he touched, another light came on. He said, the first light was from shaitan, and this is from the divine, which is now. But she could not tell the difference. पहला जो नूर था वो शैतान की तरफ से था, उसने तुम्हें गुमराह कर देना था आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. And the second one, so for us actually it is, we have no safety except the fortress of the Sunnah and Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one is safe. Because even when the wahi came, wahi on Anbiya alayhi salam, now Jibreel is so strong angel that angels fear him and jinnat fear him. He is with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, shaitan still is posing in the way. यानी इतना मजबूत फरिश्ता साथ है ताकतवर के जितना भाई सारे शयातीन से वो ताकतवर है. Jibreel alone is more powerful all shayateen on the face of the earth, and they know that. But still, you see, even though he is with him, still shaitan is posing and trying to get attention of the Prophet is calling to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's not that why he was there. It is not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not know, Jibreel Islam or Rasulullah did not know. It is to give lesson to us people who come after and say, I am having a spiritual journey. I am also a very spiritual person. I am on a spiritual trip. So that they know and learn that actually Jibreel represents Sharia. Jibreel represents Wahi and Sharia. He is not the teacher of the Prophet ﷺ. He represents Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Jibreel teaches, it's like Allah is teaching Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is just the medium. So Jibreel alayhi salam वो क्या represent कर रहे हैं? वो शरिया represent कर रहे हैं, तरीका represent कर रहे हैं. He is representing a तरीका, he is representing sharia, he is representing sunnah. मतलब आपको कोई भी हाल आ जाए, मजा आ जाए, लुत्फ आ जाए, you are in a very spiritual state, you are very feeling peaceful, enjoyment, you are seeing lights and wonders of the hereafter or in the dreams or some things are happening supernatural. Ask Sharia and Sunnah. Jibreel will guide you, meaning the Sharia and Sunnah or the Shaykh will guide you. Otherwise, in this age and in previous ages, many people have gone astray because of this. This Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadian, who posed as a prophet, Shayateen came and they say, I am Jibreel to him. Shayateen came and said to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, although he was a scholar, we are nothing, we are piece of cake, like carrot for us to lead us astray. It is a matter of left hand for Shaitan. He led astray many awliya and very highly scholarly people who were very high caliber of scholars. And now as well, you can see many scholars, they're not acting upon Sunnah and they think they are great scholars of the world. And they're not acting upon Sharia, they think they are great walis of the world. So, Jibreel alayhi salam represents the Sharia and the Sunnah. So a person should actually always go back. Otherwise, you have no safety. Otherwise, you have no safety. So as I was giving you an example of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and Musaylama Kazzab and Aswad al-Ansi, those people who thought they were prophets. So they were convinced when these shayateen came and said, I am Jibreel, I am coming with wahi to you. And he said, okay, then, but prophethood has ended. They said, yes, it has ended, but actually, not in that way. Now actually the message is continuing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided to continue the message. So if Allah asked that the prophethood had ended, now Allah is saying that Jibreel, Na'udzubillah, shayateen posing as jinnat, Jibreel and Mikael, that it is fine. So he became convinced that he is the true prophet. Because in his early stage, many miracles and miraculous things happened. उसके बहुत सारे वो दम करता था, बंदे ठीक हो जाते थे. He used to tell what were people doing in the houses. Someone will see dream, you will become cured if you go to, they'll come there and they'll become cured. You see, someone is possessed by jinnat and they say if you go there, you will be cured. They will go to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in the early stages when he didn't claim prophethood. So he had kind of supernatural spiritual powers. But he did not know at that time that he is being duped, he is being conned. At later stage, firstly they said, you are Imam Mahdi, then you are Masih, then you are Prophet, and simple as that. So we shouldn't say, oh, why did he? We might be ourselves on his tracks. So we should be fearful ourselves. He is leading different people in different ways. So in the night of Miraj, firstly the lesson obviously was to not to look even. So that's why we say to people that if the Shaykh has not said to you focus on something, if the teacher has not said to focus on something in muraqabah or anything comes in your way, don't pay attention. You go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You say, I want Allah subhanahu, I want Allah's presence. I want to be close to Him. I don't want to see things, visions and places and things. Unless the teacher says to focus on something, then you can be saved. But as I say, if you don't have teacher, then Sharia and Sunnah is always there to protect you. Just go back to in the books and you can know what is right aqidah, what is not. Don't follow that, na'uzubillah, you used to think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have a special relationship with you and you have something different than others. It's okay for you. That's what Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani experienced himself when he went through lot of mujahida, lot of tazkiyah and spiritual journey. Even he saw a very big vision in the heavens. All the heavens, sky was filled with that vision. A light of such unparalleled beauty, a face, lights emanating from like the sun, and it was posed that the voice came, "Oh Abdul Qadir, I am your Lord. Abdul Qadir, I am your Lord." Tajalli ho gayi Allah ki. And I have become such pleased with you now. You don't need to be so much strict upon yourself on Sharia, because you have left everything. You've annihilated. You've left the dunya. So for you, it does not matter. All things are lawful for you. You pray sometime or do not pray, you're always in my prayers. You are always in my zikr. So for you, it's not 5 prayers, you are all-time prayers. So Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmahullah, because he had a teacher, Shaykh Abu Saeed, and he was a man of knowledge as well. And he said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that there is no power to change, no power to give anyone, to do goodness or to be saved from evil except Allah. He said this, and he said, go you away, O cursed shaitan, eh lanti maloon, dafa ho ja. हमारे जैसा बंदा होता तो वो तो कहता मुझे तो भैया अल्लाह की बस ज़ियारत हो गई है, अब मैं तो बहुत बड़ा बुजुर्ग बन गया हूँ. I have become a very saintly person. I've seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tajalli. And now, yes, it is true that I am very, very annihilated. I've left everything. Now there's a flexibility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has become merciful with me. Compassion. अब कोई नहीं, मैं थोड़ा बहुत कभी गाना बजाना सुन लिया, कभी और साथ बैठ गया, कभी नमाज पढ़ ली, कभी कोई हरज नहीं, क्योंकि मैं तो हर वक्त नमाज में रहता हूँ. I'm all the time in dhikr. I'm all the time in namaz. So Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah was mentioning this to his students and teaching them to safeguard themselves. They said to him, "Oh our master, how is it that you knew that he is shaitan?" He said, "I knew that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the most beloved of Allah. Allah did not give him instruction like this, flexibility like this. And after him, there is no prophet, no halal can become haram, Sharia has ended. So I knew that these instructions are coming, where there is temperance in the Sharia, this can never be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. कि वो हलाल को हराम, हराम को हलाल कह रहा है, तो वो शैतान ही हो सकता है, वो जो है यानी अल्लाह की तरफ से नहीं हो सकता." Second thing, after that, as I said, that Jibreel Islam said, "Ya Rasulullah sallam, the old man which you saw was shaitan." जो वो बूढ़ा बंदा देखा था वो शैतान था, इसलिए मैंने कहा उनको ना उसकी तरफ तवज्जो ना फरमाए. एंड दोनों का मकसद आपको अपनी तरफ माइल करना था. They both wanted to attract you towards them. So meaning when you will go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, travel towards Allah on the path, dunya and shaitan are going to come upon you together. People of dunya and shayateen, and they are going to come upon you like vultures coming upon a dead corpse. लोग और दुनिया और शैतान इकट्ठे होकर, जिसलिए जो बंदा मजहबी बन जाएगा उसके बहुत सारे लोग खिलाफ हो जाएंगे. People will turn against you. People will turn against you. Your family might turn against you. Your own family, like in the times of Anbiya alayhi salam, many of their own nation, own family, own uncles, fathers, sons, wives, they became against them. They became the obstacle. Because once you are on the journey to achieve success forever, now shaitan never tolerates it. So dunya and the love of dunya, the worldly people, and the as it mentioned by the Mashaykh, that sometimes shaitan does not come directly to you because he knows you won't follow him. He comes to you through your family and friends. Brother, what you are doing? Oh, you were quite sociable first. You were a very, very happy person. Why you have come like this now? The family, he might come through the husband. He might come through the wife. He might come through the children, speaking on their tongue. But how do you know shaitan is speaking on their tongue? Anything they say against Allah, His Messenger Sallam, or Deen, or regarding following Sunnah and Sharia, know that they are now the mouthpiece of shaitan. They are no more them. That is the rule. They have become possessed people. Shaitan is using them as ploys. So then Jibreel Islam said that after we went past dunya and shaitan, then we saw a group of people who said salam upon you. Ya Rasulullah, they were the Jamaat of Anbiya. That was Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Musa, and Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. So this hadith narrated by Imam Bihki and Anas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, akhrajahu Ibn Jarir wal Bihki. Meaning, this is also a lesson that yes, you can meet the spirits of Anbiya and Awliya as well, but you have to differentiate. You have to differentiate. Without differentiating, you can't. Nowadays, what's happening? There are two groups of Muslims. One, they say, you can never have any vision or anything, nothing, angel, no, for example, a prophet can be seen in the visions or dreams, etc. That is false itself, because Rasulullah said you can see good dreams. You can see prophets and Anbiya in dreams and visions. And it is in Quran that awliya can see malaika. Look, Hazrat Maryam radiyallahu ta'ala is a waliya. She is not a prophet, but she saw Jibreel alayhi salam when he came to give good news of his son. His qalatil malaikatu ya Maryamu. When the malaika came second time, they gave inna la yubashiruka. Allah is giving you good news of a son. So who came? Angels. Who came? Jibreel. To who? A prophet? No, a wali, a waliya. So in the Quran, there is evidence that the kashf or of the arwah of Anbiya and Awliya, the angels they can communicate with you. The Quran Majid mein ye hai. Maryam raziyallahu ta'ala ko nabi nahi hai. So the third part, meaning we are saying that you can see Anbiya, like Rasulullah met Anbiya alayhi salam in the Bayt al-Muqaddas and in the Masjid Aqsa, and he met. But these two things, so you should always differentiate. So one group of Muslim, they say you can't see completely, they're out. Whatever anyone sees, it's wrong. The others who believe in awliya and anbiya, whatever they see, they think it is them. It is the awliya, it is the angels. It comes to their mind, they never want to believe it can be shayateen and jinnat. वो जो भी नजर आ जाए वो समझते हैं यही वो बुजुर्ग ही है, वली मुझे नजर आ रहे हैं. इस तरह कई लोग, कई फिरके गुमराह हो गए इस वजह से. Many people have gone astray, the sects have gone astray. One extreme is that you don't believe in anything, and the other extreme is that whatever you see is good all the time. तो ये दोनों चीज़ें जो हैं वो गलत, यानी middle way is there. Yes, you can see the righteous Anbiya, Awliya in the dream and visions, and you can see shayateen as well. How you judge them, what they say, what they do, what they are giving the message to you. And the safest way is that if you have a teacher, spiritual teacher, scholars, ulama cannot guide you on this. They themselves don't know. If they are ulama of fiqh or ulama of tafsir, they don't have any knowledge of the spiritual field, they cannot be your teacher in that field. They won't know themselves. They themselves will be confused. And they'll be surprised, oh, have you seen this? How can that be possible? So how will they answer you then your problem when it is a news for themselves? I never heard. So this means that they people. So as you go to a doctor and you say, I have pain here in this part, and it's a news for him, he says, I wonder how one can have pain here. It can't happen. I've never heard. So this means that he can't cure you, he can't diagnose you really. How will he cure you when he doesn't know? So there are men for every field. They're men for fiqh, they're men for hadith, they're ulama for hadith, muhaddiseen, mufassirin, fuqaha, and there's categories, qaris, muftis, and then they're men of spiritual field of tazkiyah and ihsan. But anyway, we were focusing on regarding Miraj, Rasulullah sallallahu and Jibreel Islam, when Jibreel Islam was saying that have your attention, don't pay attention, don't look at even dunya and shaitan. So that's why we are saying that if you are also on a miraj to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you should also try to save yourself from looking at these things extraordinarily with very passion. So yes, Brother Isman, if you read further, the person traveling the path.
The person traveling the path should refrain from looking at anything that the lower, baser self wants. This is because images that are viewed with the eyes make a stamp on the heart, and as long as the heart is stamped with the images of created things, the soul will not be able to perceive the light of the divine. In our deen, we have laws for looking at the nakedness of people. The rule is that anything that is unlawful to look at in real life is also unlawful to look at when depicted in a lifelike photograph.
So this refers to that anything, for example, with the naked eye you can't look, it is unlawful for you according to the fiqh. Then it is unlawful to look it in the form of picture or TV or print or even actually make a picture out of it in your mind. You see, mind have the power to imagine and make pictures. So you're not looking at the pictures outside, but you are constructing the pictures on the screen of your mind. That is also unlawful. Yes.
Therefore, pornography in magazines, billboards, posters, electronic screens, projector screens, etc. is all unlawful. As our definition of pornography is very strict, since it includes the exposure of both the light and the coarse nakedness of the human being, the person living in the present time and the future will face difficulty practicing this ruling. Any time that a ruling is difficult to practice, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness.
So our definition in Islam of pornography, यानी देखना जो नाजायज़ चीज़ें हैं वो it is more strict than actually the normal definition of like here in Western culture. For example, they would say you are not allowed to look at nakedness of women in a particular way, or the men, or the children, etc., etc. But others they will allow. But in Islam, for example, you cannot look, is considered pornography even to look at the face of women with lust. Face of women with the lust, for the women to look at the men with lust. And pornography obviously includes anything in magazines, billboards, posters. So because these images are going to corrupt your heart. They're going, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that these are like the arrows of shaitan, poisonous arrows of shaitan. So, and the other thing he has said, that sometimes it is difficult for you to safeguard yourself. And he has mentioned at any rule, any time, you see this is a very useful sentence, any time that a ruling is difficult to practice, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness. This applies to all things. For example, you say, I can't stop listening to music because I am in the restaurant, I am there. You don't have shutters to actually close your eyes, you close your ears like we have for eyes. So there you do best, meaning don't take enjoyment and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. You are in such a way that you can't avoid, for example, a certain amount of interest. It has come to such a state or a certain time. But now it doesn't mean that somewhere you were forced or you were pressurized and now you start taking interest of even where there is no pressure and nothing. So meaning that different circumstances, fattakullaha mastatatum. Practice taqwa as much as ability you have and ask forgiveness from Allah will actually forgive you. Don't give a free hand to shaitan and sin because I can't stop from there, I might as well do all bad things as well. So in whichever situation you are, you think you can't save yourself and you've got yourself into a sin, save yourself as much as you can from it, to the level you can, and ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, don't just nakedly, outrightly jump into the well and of sin. जितना भी बच सकते हैं, जितना भी बच सकते हैं, बंदा बाहर जा रहा है, जाना पड़ गया, नहीं बच सकता, जितना बच सकता उतना बचे. Ghibat है, someone is talking, backbiting, and you are in a position you can't get out of that company, or you can't move from there, like you're sitting in a bus or so. As much as you can, don't pay attention. So wherever you are, and you think you don't want to do this sin, you don't want to do this pornography or see or look or deal with unlawfully, but circumstances have brought you as though that you have become majboor, still at that time, even save yourself as much as you can and ask forgiveness from Allah. The punishment will be much lesser on this person. Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabbagh rahmatullah alayhi even said, he said that if a person is indulged in sin, कोई बंदा गुनाह कर रहा है, so today कोई बंदा गुनाह कर रहा है, and while sinning he remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment and death and fire and the presence of Allah, the punishment of this sin would be much lower than if someone has committed the same sin while completely being forgetful of Allah. यानी गुनाह करना ही नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन अगर गुनाह कंदा कर भी रहा है फिर भी अल्लाह को जरूर याद करे कि अल्लाह मुझे देख रहा है जहन्नम को, कि because this is going to little bit it is going to decrease your punishment of that sin. So he has even given guidance for the people who have indulged themselves in sin. And these days the people, because internet is there, they should be very, very, like the government take license from you. They don't allow children to use some things. For example, they don't allow you to drive if you do accident every day. They'll put points and ban you. So people who go on internet or on their iPhones or mobile phones or internet and again they are doing accidents with pornography and other chatting and things, either they should take themselves away from them, and if they are lower, then if you are a parent or teacher, you should instruct them to actually not to use those instruments. वो ले लें उनसे, क्योंकि वो एक्सीडेंट कर रहे हैं. वो तो कहेंगे हमें क्या, हम ठीक है, what's wrong with using the phone? नहीं, उनको समझ नहीं. So you, inshallah, have actually certain things which are upon you, other students and children are not going to understand. For example, Islam says If a person goes to college, university, he wears a dress according to Muslim standard. Person might say, the teacher says, or you say to someone that you should go and wear the sunnah actually in college. तो वो कहे आपसे, it's not necessary. When he has been going to school 16 years, why it was necessary to wear the uniform of the school? Has the Sharia has said so? I mean, for 5 years in the high school, you should have a tie, you should have a uniform. It's not incumbent upon, Sharia has not given ruling, but it is to discipline. So discipline, like, so 16 years a person needs, a person might need a discipline to 25 years. So instructions are given for a particular purpose. Achha, yes, whether it's one after.
As for other non-pornographic photographs, for example, of a panda bear, a properly dressed human, or a building, they are generally mubah to look at. The instruction,
mubah means this jaiz, it is lawful.
The instructions we gave above in footnote 26-22 are only for people who are traveling the path and have not yet reached the goal, and not for the general body of the members of our deen.
You see, this clarifies, you say that don't look at the yachts and cars and things. This he is referring to that it is meant those people who are traveling the path to Allah, who want to reach Allah very quickly, not the generally people. It's not unlawful to look at them, but haram things they should actually try to avoid.
As for drawing animate life, for example, humans, animals, and insects, with the hand, it may be employed for instruction purposes, children's cartoons, etc., but only if the depiction is not completely lifelike. Lifelike hand-drawn portraits of humans or other animate creatures are unlawful to make or keep. Please note that plant life is not considered to be animate in our deen, and thus is lawful to draw even if it is lifelike. As for lifelike statues or animate life which include the head, for example, a cavalry horseman in stone or a plastic flamingo bird, they are unlawful to make or keep. As for children's toys, they are permissible to make and keep, for example, a doll, an action figure, an artificial stuffed animal, etc. It is...
This is the ruling on the pictures according to because they were Maliki Faqih according to Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi. Now generally to keep statues just for decoration purposes it is disallowed. To keep display pictures it is makruh actually of living things, but for education, as they say, educational purposes, war purposes, instruction purposes, teaching purposes, these two-dimensional images can be used, and three-dimensional for these reasons it can be used, but not actually things of honor, decoration, or anything like this. Nor one, the face should not be visible if you have displayed a picture. Then it is allowed. Now regarding the ears. So now you have understood regarding eyes, you are not allowed to look at these things. So we've covered about these things about eyes. Now ears, yes, brother. Okay.
Bismillah. It is harder to guard the ears than it is to guard the eyes. This is because we have not been given automatic shutters for the ears as we have for our eyes. Nevertheless, the person traveling the path must try his best not to hear the unlawful, for example, lying, backbiting, carrying tales, stringed musical instruments, horned musical instruments, sexually explicit lyrics, etc.
So these things, after these things, 20 things which we covered, the sins of the tongue, backbiting, slander, 20 sins we covered yesterday, all those 20 are unlawful to hear as well. And in addition to that, music and these things. Regarding music, Brother Usman, if you brothers go to page 321 from the note 2628.
Singing which involves only human voices is generally allowed. However, lewd lyrics, i.e. lyrics that describe sexual acts of nakedness of people or nakedness of people, and bedroom voices, i.e. speaking in a seductive manner, especially if done by women, are unlawful to listen to in real life and from real-sounding electronic devices, for example, a radio or a telephone. As for unrelated women's voices outside of singing, we are narrating the opinion that they are mubah to listen to for men if these voices are not purposely seductive or high-strung.
So this is referring to that any voice, singing way, lewd lyrics which describe sexual acts of nakedness and love and romantic like songs, they are unlawful to listen to and also sing. As for unrelated, non-mahram women voices outside of singing is generally speaking, they are not unlawful. We are narrating the opinion that they are mubah, they are lawful to listen to for men if these voices are not purposely seductive or high-strung, meaning for educational purposes, for teaching, for giving them instruction, asking a fatwa, asking guidance from shaykh and ulama, or for business purposes, for teaching purposes. The voice of women can be heard, it is not unlawful. But normally, the women, if they are out of these, if they are just like cousins and all the social circle, it is not related to business, it's not related to teaching, it's not related for any medical purposes, then these also the women are asked not to speak in soft and gentle voices with men on the phone. فَلَا تَخْضَعْنَا بِالْقَوْلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't make your voice to the women very sounding inviting, very gentle, very romantic. You are not allowed to accept your mahrams and husband to speak like this with any man on the phone. It should be a moderate voice, which is not very, very harsh and not actually at all on the other side. तो ये बताया गया कि आप सुन सकते हैं. इसी तरह फ़ोन है, फ़ोन पे वैसे सुन सकते हैं तो फ़ोन पे भी सुन सकते हैं. But the rule will apply कि औरत जवाब दे रही है घर में, कोई बार पूछता है आपका खामिद घर है, आपका भाई है, मैं उनसे बात करनी है, for example, the women should answer in a moderate, harsher way. वो यानी बहुत नरमी से बात ना करे, बड़े मोहब्बत से, जैसे बहुत ज़्यादा. क्योंकि अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला said कि भाई if you do this in the Quran, Allah said, first he has prohibited, and he said if you do, you are going to send wrong messages in the heart which already have disease. तो औरत सुन सकती है मर्द की आवाज़ फ़ोन पे या वैसे भी, लेकिन उसको जवाब देने की इजाज़त नहीं है इस तरह के नरमी से. इसी तरह मर्द जो है उसके लिए भी उसे वो अपना कर सकता है बात फ़ोन पे वैसे, औरत से की आवाज़ जो है वो मना नहीं सुनना. लेकिन अगर वो गाना गा रही है, तिलावत कर रही है और या नाते भी पढ़ रही है तो ऐसी आवाज़ नहीं सुनना, अनलेस वो बच्चियां हैं, दे आर नॉट बालिग. तो अगर वो बड़ी हैं तो उनकी तिलावत की आवाज़ भी, नात की आवाज़ भी वो, क्योंकि वो सुनना वो ठीक नहीं मर्दों के लिए. तो ये है. Now the 26-29.
Imam Malik's opinion that musical instruments is that everything besides the one-sided tambourine is unlawful to play or listen to. Thus, among the instruments that the person traveling the path should refrain from listening to are A. String instruments, for example, harp, guitar, banjo, violin, etc. B. Wind instruments, for example, the clarinet, saxophone, etc. C. Percussion instruments, for example, the piano or cymbal, etc. D. Horned instruments, for example, the trumpet or the bugle, etc. As most popular and classical music currently contain, and probably in the future will contain, sounds from these instruments or synthetic lifelike electronic versions of them, the person traveling the path should try his best to avoid listening to such music. As this ruling is difficult to follow at the present time and probably will be in the future, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness. The person traveling the path should try his utmost to avoid the 20 unlawful methods of speech listed in footnote 2625. He should watch over himself and keep a daily tally of how many times he slips and disobeys Allah with his tongue.
This is like mentioning the sheet system type thing, some kind of accountability that you keep a daily record of sheets, like 30 days or 40 days, however Mashaykh has, whoever you are following, 10 days. But our Mashaykh says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected 30 days for Ramadan. We also try to attain taqwa through 30 days. That is more closer to the Sunnah, the more closer to the Quran and Ramadan. But some kind of accountability should be there.
He should repent immediately from each slip and keep daily tallies on them until he achieves 10 days in a row which are free from all of them.
As I say, for us it is 30 days. They have just actually mentioned 10 days.
The way to get 10 days in a row free of these wrongs of the tongue is to remain quiet and not to speak at all except for daily necessities. The more the person talks, the more likely it is that he will commit one of these acts of disobedience with his tongue. The person on the path must restrict his diet so that he only eats what is lawful. What this means is that he must obey the provisions given in Song 34.
So now we are talking about the stomach. You see, we've gone to the ears and eyes, and now we are going towards we're talking about the stomach.
What this also means is that the money with which the food he eats is bought must be from a lawful income source, i.e. a source other than what is listed in lines 1729 to 1734 of the Guiding Helper. If the person cannot find lawful sustenance, then he should just try his best and eat from the sustenance that is the closest to being lawful.
Again, I say the same ruling he's repeating, that if you find difficult to have complete mubah or halal, lawful sustenance, rizq, then you should try just to do the best and eat from the rizq that is the closest to being lawful. ये ना क्योंकि मैं तो जी मेरा सूद पे मेरा कारोबार है या कुछ इस तरह है तो अब मैं मतलब यानी चिकन भी हराम खा रहा हूँ एंड बीफ भी हराम खा रहा हूँ रेस्टोरेंट से कि मैं तो वैसे ही हराम खा रहा हूँ सूद का तो अब क्या है मीनिंग then you are going towards destruction completely. When you have found difficult a ruling to follow, then do your best. The closest risk, halal risk which you can find of your money. Maybe you have one income and doubtful, one income is lawful. So use that lawful income for your food and do the unlawful income doubtful for something else. Yeah?
Similarly, the person traveling the path should try to wear lawful clothing and live in a lawful dwellings. As this may be difficult, the person should try his best and ask Allah for forgiveness.
This means that person traveling the path, he should wear lawful clothes, not silk like for men, or clothes which they drape down than ankles, which is against the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu के नबी अलैहिस्सलाम मना फरमाया बड़ी सख्ती से कि तकब्बर के साथ वह ये टखनों से नीचे तुम्हारी चीज़ कोई नहीं आनी चाहिए. So above the ankles सुनना. तो and then he said lawful dwelling, lawful houses. Don't live in houses. For example, if you can live in a rented accommodation, don't go on interest living or in somehow. Because you are going to leave it anyway, sooner or later, time of death. So why a person makes it? Because if you're living in unlawful housing, there will be not barakah there in there. Already you are living like बंदा जो कपड़े पहन लेता है हराम माल के उसकी नमाज कबूल नहीं होती और जो हराम मकान में रह रहा है तो उसकी बरकत भी खत्म हो जाएंगी. Whatever goodness he does is not going to go away. Because it's a constant sin. वो एक मुसलसल गुनाह हो रहा है उसको रोजाना का. तो वो कोशिश करे अब यहाँ. Now this ruling means अब कई लोग for example say haram mortgage, there's halal mortgage. Get the halal mortgage. If not, go on rent. Now some people say in halal mortgage there is some things as well and they are in the same banks as well. Well, that's where this ruling applies. Get the closest to halal. एक halal है, एक haram है. What is closest to halal? It might have few deficiencies in there, but it is still better and lawful than actually the haram one. तो इकन ये ruling जो बार बार वो फरमा रहे हैं, again and again he is saying that when you are in such circumstances, you have option. One is 100% haram, one is 10% haram. Go for the 10%, ask forgiveness for the 10%, and you have a good chance you will be forgiven. Now, next part we are going to go is the अभी जो है stomach and private parts. Stomach को तो आपने cover किया है some extent. One note is left, and then private parts, sins of the private parts. जी.
Do not swallow any pig products. You may also pour out the wine and recycle the bottle instead of smashing it to pieces. Safeguard your private parts. Do not show it to anyone who is not your spouse except for medical examination and the like.
Yes, this means that you are not allowed to show the part from your knees to your navel to any man or woman except your wife. And similarly, one woman cannot show other women any part for that as well. She has a satar for women as well. For example, there's two sisters, two friends, women, they can't even show each other the parts from their knees to their navel. That is satar for them as well. For men, except their hands and faces, it's unlawful to look, unlawful to reveal for them. For men, between them, also from the navel to the knees, यानी नाफ से शुरू करके घुटनों तक पर्दा रहना चाहिए. कई लोग तहमत बांधते हैं, हम तहमत बांध रहे हैं, और वो जो है या जो तो वो इस चीज़ का ख्याल ना रखेंगे, वो ऊपर किया होगा, घुटनों से घुटने नज़र आ रहे हैं या घुटनों से ऊपर, तो वो फिर नाजायज़ हो जाएगा. इसी तरह जो लोग वहाँ एहराम बांधते हम लोग, तो उसमें बांधते हुए भी ख्याल करना चाहिए कि भाई कैसे बांध रहा है बंदा, कैसे बैठा हुआ है, because people are not used to it and these things. भाई सतर ना शो करो. It is possible that you come across these things, and how to safeguard yourself from going astray and leading others astray, we have given you some basic guidance.
Okay, so if inshallah brothers put your hand up and only ask questions related to today's topics.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
وبركاته.
I want some clarity on the item we read, number 2637, and that reads, do not have vaginal or oral sexual intercourse with anybody who is not your spouse. Now, the clarity is that my understanding is that in Islam, oral sex, as is known in the Western countries, is forbidden. Can you please clarify?
Yes, regarding that ruling is that there is a part you have to be on the, it's, as I say, borderline. Oral sex can have many meaning. One is that, like you say, that people, non-Muslims or don't have any guidance, they practice. One is, for example, a wife touches the parts of the husband, genital, that is allowed, and the husband touches the parts of the wife, allowed. The haram thing in there in Islam is to actually be contact with the fluids of the private parts. If they come into your mouth, it is allowed. But if, for example, it is makruh, but if a wife or a husband kisses the parts of his wife which are like below the navel, or the wife kisses the parts of the private parts of the husband, तो वो haram नहीं है, वो अपना, लेकिन उसमें कराहत है. Haram part is the fluid discharge, mean taking that into the mouth, that is. But if wife is, or the husband is kissing around her body, he can kiss all the body, there's no restriction on that, or with his hands. Imam Abu Hanifa was asked in Fatawa Alamgiri, there's fatwa. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah was asked that if a wife plays or actually with her hands, with her husband's private parts or toward arousal or thing, what is the ruling? Imam Abu Hanifa says, in my opinion, she will get reward for it, because this is including in the foreplay. So there is a borderline there I have mentioned to you. Now some modest people, they don't like anything of this nature. They just want to have a straightforward relationship. And they don't, even looking at the private parts is not haram but makruh of wife and husband. Other body is allowed, but the actual private part, even if there is karahat, dislikeness in there, but it is not haram. If someone is doing, so we can't actually say that he is sinful or haram, but actually it is not desirable act. So Islam gives ruling to fit everyone in the society. Some people will be modest, some people will be there, some people will, and then there is the final line you can't go after, that is given as well. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I was actually basically upstairs. I was still paying attention. I was listening to your beautiful dawah. And basically what it is, I've got a question for you. It's all about homosexuals and, you know, gays or lesbians or whatever they want to call themselves. I've got a lot of gay colleagues and, you know, lesbian friends at work, but I don't really associate in that sort of sense. I mean, can they get forgiveness, like if they were to repent sins, or, you know, or is it wrong to have like gay colleagues and friends sometimes, you know, in that sort of sense? As being in the westernized country, I myself is westernized, and a lot of brothers and sisters are, and it is, I mean, it's government ruled as well. I mean, you can't say anything, you know, against that, like, you know, saying gay or lesbian or homosexual, as, you know, I mean, you can get penalised for it as well. What's that?
Right. If you see, some laws are there from Bible, and these laws are coming from previous scriptures like the Torah and Bible about homosexuality, and Quran, all divine revealed religions, they prohibit. But here in many countries have different laws. They are, for example, lawful in there. So because everyone is free to practice their religion, exchange views, preach and give the message. There's no restriction on that. Like, they are free to do whatever they want. We are free to do whatever they want in lawful way, in the circle of law. So if you have like a friends or colleagues who are working with you, yes, you ask, can they repent? Yes, they can repent. They can be forgiven if they do truly repent. And secondly, you say to have friendship with them as such, is that there are so many friends, but if they are colleagues, your colleagues meaning in the sense of work or there, and they interact with you so not to actually be with them with this intention to actually invite them towards goodness, to interact or say salam to them in that regard, that is fine. But to become one of them in Islamic terms will be unlawful, because if you'll be in the company of them all the time, it is a strong possibility that you will say the sin or that wrong thing will look less wrong to you, and there's a danger that you can fall in there as well. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is that I work in the public sector. I have to check IDs and so on, people getting on my vehicle and so on forth. If a female boards with a veil over her, I still have to check her ID, because if there is, as we call them, unknown inspectors that sitting on the vehicles, and they do check-ins if you've issued tickets, if you've checked everybody and so on. Where would I stand in this situation? Also, females board my vehicle every time I'm on my service, and I have to have a look at them. Where would I stand in this situation as well, please?
This people experience this at airports and things. You see, if it was Islamic government, they provide rules. For example, all they can apply rules. Like there was a big case about the scanners in the airport and things that people are scanned. The problem could be solved very easily. That if women are looking at women, then actually there is no problem. They are looking at the scan of women for security reason. But for security and witnessing purposes, identification purposes, as I say, the ideal way is actually for women should identify as women. But as I say, you have a job, you are an officer, you have to identify. Then we apply that ruling that if you have to look, don't actually, meaning just identify for identification purposes, don't let the lust or actually desire inside there, just for that purpose, security, and ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is fine. That is fine. For security reason, people shouldn't be show the parda of the face, there is opinion of ulama. Some say it is necessary, some say it is optional. So there is already flexibility. And those of our women that who here in the marketplaces and they're just going without parda, and once they go on the airport, they say, no, we don't want to show, and they're causing a big scene there. That is not really actually, they are giving even a bad name to their religion, as well as causing people difficulty. For identification purposes, like a doctor, these are security and medical have exceptions, you see, identification, because you are not looking for pleasure or anything. Like a woman who doesn't find her doctor is a person who is a male, and for that reason for example, he have to look at her arm or touch arm, and the nurse or other doctor is not there, female doctor, he can do, and it is lawful for that reason, and a person can actually do. That incident happened in the time of Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, where a woman had a particular disease. She was a bleeding discharge from her private parts, and other female doctors could not treat her. There was one male doctor of that time. He said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I can cure this disease. I can cure this, but it is not allowed for, but she is a woman. Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu gave him the instruction that regarding the woman, that cover her all parts with the veil or with clothing, and just leave that part where you need to operate on, and you can operate on her. So medical security issue, there is flexibility, but keep that ruling in mind, that you by just on the excuse of identifying people, you don't take any enjoyment from there. You understand? Similarly, if you are in the case of medical, again we come, and a woman who have fainted, you are to give her first aid. Now, to actually pump her heart or anything, you might have to touch her stomach or breast, or actually to her, it is allowed. But at that time, the ruling which we mention again, even in those circumstances, don't actually take enjoyment from the good feeling, just actually have your function which you are performing. So that ruling, that sentence which the Shaykh has said regarding there, that in circumstances when it is difficult for you to avoid certain things, just be best as possible you can and ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the way. Don't make that sin lawful for you, but just avoid as much as you can.
I have two questions. One is there was something came, a query a brother had earlier in the week. He said, I can take the spiritual teachings from the teacher, but I can't take all the fiqh. And related to what the teacher said about mortgage, what the question is, sorry, I haven't explained it well. What the question is can he take a different opinion on mortgage and still benefit from the teacher, or can the teacher elaborate on what I'm trying?
Yes. Any student who is following a different fiqh, like he is Salafi, he is Hanbali, Shafi'i, Hanafi, he's following. Here, what we teach here, the spiritual path, that requires that he should follow some kind of fiqh, which is accepted school of thought. If he follows a different school of thought, which has differences with the teacher, it doesn't matter. He will be fine. He won't get actually. But he should know that really well that the four schools of thought, that no one allows the interest. It's not that he is just having come up with a new opinion. The fuqaha cannot make things which are declared unlawful in the Quran. They can't make lawful. Opinion is taken where Quran and Sunnah is silent. Where Quran and Rasulullah is silent, then we follow the fuqaha. And if they have given the ruling, then no one can change. But yes, the rule is like Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jailani rahmatullah alayhi, he was humbly, he used to put his hands here in the prayer. When he goes to ruku, he would do rafa yadain. He used to say Ameen loudly. That he is humbly faqih. But people who follow him in the spiritual terms, they are from all walks of life, all school thoughts. Some Hanafis are following him, Shafis are following him, they respect him. Similarly, Shaykh Abu Madian Ghaus, Rahmatullah alayhi, Shaykh Abul Hassan Shazali, Shaykh Abdul Aziz Dabbagh, they were all Maliki people. And people follow them from different. Similarly, other Sayyid Ahmad Kabir Rifai is probably Shafi'i. And others are Hanafi. So, fiqh is different thing, the tariq is different thing. Fiqh is a condition, rulings is a condition for the tariq, but which fiqh they follow, it's up to them. But they should follow and they should know the rulings of their own fiqh. Yeah.
And the second question is, may I ask where this commentary came from? Because it has modern words like yacht and things like that. Is it modern?
Yes,
commentary?
it is a person, Sheikh Abu Qanit Hassani, or who have done really the commentary. There are about 10 or 7 commentaries on this Murshid al-Mu'in. There are 10. He has taken from those commentaries. The scholar Sheikh Abdul Wahid himself has done commentary as well. So he's taken the commentary and put it in English, and because he's living in this time, he's actually put footnotes and things to make it more relevant to the people there. So the person who've done the commentary, he's still living. I think he lives in, he's been in Morocco, but he lives somewhere in America or some other country, I don't know, somewhere. But he's a person from West who gone to study from East and Maghrib and then written. So as I say that it is a very good notes and very good commentary and guidelines in some, many times on this book of Murshidul Mu'in, especially the spiritual path. And this is only, you see, this is the commentaries only, the notes you see. There is no dalil with it, that where it comes from Quran and Sunnah. There is a whole book folder with the whole ahadith and Quranic verses which back up these old rulings and this commentary. You can get that as well. I have, you can come and see. वो तो हम जान ही रहे कि वक्त बहुत लगेगा, वरना इसमें हर एक चीज़ जो लिखी गई है उसका कुरान और हदीस की दलील वो भी लिखी हुई है और उलमा की। लेकिन to make it easy, we've cut that out and reading what is actually to understand first. But if anyone wants evidence, there is evidence for all of these commentaries, for Quran and Ahadith. Yeah.
Couple of questions. One was in relation to the dreams and visions. You mentioned, for example, that Maryam alayhi salam saw an angel even though she was not a prophet. I just want to ask if there's any other examples from the time of the Sahabas or after Prophet ﷺ where they had dreams or visions So we've got some.
Sahaba Rizwanul Ajmain, many a time they've seen Jibreel alayhi salam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like in the famous hadith of Hadith Jibreel, he came in the form of man, and he was asking questions from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mal imanu ya Rasulullah, Mal islamu ya Rasulullah, Mal ihsanu. And all Sahaba were seeing him, and after that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this was Jibreel. So Sahaba is one ajmain. But when it comes in the Quran, the matter ends there. And in Sahaba's life, that they've seen angels on the battle of Badr. They say, Ya Rasulullah sallam, in the battle we see two men dressed in white on your right and left, very, very fearful and faceful, and they were fighting as well. Prophet said, this was Jibreel and Mikael, protecting the Rasulullah sallam. So battle of Badr, other thing. And also in the Quran it is mentioned very clearly that in the ancient time of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ma unzila alal malakaini bi Babila Harut wa Marut. Two angels called Harut and Marut who came to people, everyone could see them, and they instructed people that don't learn magic. People were learning magic at that time. They said, this is a great test for you. You have opportunity to get it from shayateen, and it will have supernatural powers, but it is a fitna for you. Don't do it. तो उस वक्त भी आता है कि वो फरिश्ते सब लोग देख रहे थे. In Sahaba Rizwan Ajmain times, many times they saw angel Jibreel alayhi salam, और मरियम रजी अल्लाह ताला का बारे में तो जो बताया आपको. And many other hadiths of kashf and things they have seen.
Jazakallah Hazrat Sahab. And the second question was in relation to on the tariq we have various formulas of zikrs and azkars that are prescribed to us to give us energy or to give us soul food, to tread the path and to take the course. So what my question was that these formulas, how do you derive these formulas, and how have the mashayikh come to these formulas? Are they based on ahadith or how are they derived? Jazakallah khair.
They are from Quran and Sunnah. For example, let's say we read Masnoon Azkar in morning. And if you select 7 du'as for it and say, do it, there will be barakah because this will protect you from evil. This dua will actually help you in actually for barakah of rizq. You can prescribe. So the azkars which mashayikh give, they are from the Sunnah and Quran, La ilaha illallah, Ya Allah, or actually other zikr, istighfar, and Durood Sharif, the asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person can read 99 names every day. It is a great blessing. You can select 7 from them and do that. There is no restriction. So where the Quran and Sunnah has given a free hand that you can do whatever you want in that matter. So you can, then the mashayikh, due to having different effects, the name and the azkars, they prescribe them in their proper manner, according to their own opinion. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Hazrat, I have come across certain people who are actually living in our society. They are neither man or woman. I was wondering if you could shed some light how to, basically advise these people in terms of da'wah, or does Sharia apply to such people?
Yes, these people, they existed in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, and thereafter as well. And they, Sharia, according to whatever level it is possible, it applies to them as well. They have same, you see, the spirit, the ruh of the human being is nor man or woman. It is only the body. So some people have operation, they become men now, some have become women. For example, they have changed their actually gender. So the spirit which they have is no man or woman. It's not female or male, that's ruh. And the ruh of human being they have, so they have full potential actually regarding application of Sharia and success in the hereafter. They shouldn't feel that they are less off, but rather I think they can get a much higher spiritual status really, because they have been put in a very high sophisticated test, which is different than other human being, and they constant, if they are in Sharia, constantly their status is going to rise day by day, even than the other people if they are steadfast. So their example would be like a person who is ill or who is diseased, their sins get forgiven, their status gets raised, and they are in a constant test. They're not man or women, they can't interact normally, they can't do many things. So like Rasulullah mentioned, a person who loses his eyesight, and then he practices patience, Prophet ﷺ said, the reward for him is nothing other than Jannah. So if they have some fault with private parts, which even is a more test rather, and they become patient, in Jannah they might have a much higher status than men and other women, normal, who have not been actually so much steadfast.
Hazrat, just one more thing, Hazrat. But these people are getting married, and eventually, when the partners find out, it comes into divorce. Now, are they allowed to get married? And in some occasions, they get married, but it comes into, forgive me, it comes into homosexuality. So, could you shed some light on that?
Yes, these people, if they have, for example, some kind of little bit of defect, and it can be fixed or it can be corrected with operation and things, and then, for example, they are just normal men or women to some extent, then they can marry. But those who don't have this, even after operation, they can't, then they can't have, in Islamic terms, Islamic law, they can't have a marriage and have relationship of a homosexual relationship. That will be unlawful for them. Yeah.
Any other questions, inshallah? Any other questions?
ठीक है जी, Jazakallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us more understanding. But the main thing is that you firstly get yourself in order. These things which are mentioned, focus on yourself, not other people. When they will deal with their problems, or when they come, we'll deal with them. But firstly, we need to help ourselves. 20 years has passed, 15 years has passed, 30 years. अभी हम 7,000 के गुनाह से भी पाक नहीं हो रहे, तो हमें तो सीरियसली मदद चाहिए. पिछले औलिया अल्लाह और बुजुर्ग वो खुद ही दिनों में, महीने में वो कर लेते थे ये तज़किया, because they had a strong will, and we are not going to go. If these things are keeping us behind from Allah, we are not going to let them become an obstacle. तो वो ज़बरदस्ती कर, इसीलिए वो मुजाहिदा जो बताया था कल वो अपना करते थे. But this way of tariqa Muhammadiyah is such a way that majority can follow. The way going to jungle, only minority can follow. This way you can live in the world but not become of the world. Live in the world and become actually also a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by just avoiding the haram. Because many other scholars and things, they are just, at the moment, they're just talking about only you should become pious, this book says this and that, but practical guidance to normal people is not given. They don't know how to begin, what to travel, where to go. And they just, either theory, so they come out of madrasa after 8 years study and they had no tazkiyah done. They are normal. They become hafiz and they are no tazkiyah. They are living life worse than even normal pious person. So this is necessary part for all. Not necessary to become scholars for all, but necessary for tazkiyah is necessary for scholars, for ulama, for normal people, for businessmen, for everyone, and everyone can follow. Because this doesn't need much time. It's just as a way of thinking and some things. Rather, it saves time because it gets the useless things away from you. Useless watching TV, useless hearing, wasteful thinking. It saves you time. It gives you time. You can use it for more fruitful and more productive things. Jazakallah. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruk wa natubu ilayk. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah.
So inshallah, brothers can have, is it 10-minute break? 10-minute breaks, and inshallah then the halqa of fiqh and aqidah will begin.